Hi everyone. We've had some technical issues. I am trying to broadcast this on two computers at once, one in my Facebook group and one on my page. So if I'm looking in all directions plus at my notes, please forgive me, but I hope you can all see me and see what's going on. So I turned up today because I want to talk to you about how you find your wow factor. And this is something that is incredibly important to you in a hi Joe, in a highly competitive market. I'm going to be running this video again later on this afternoon to see if we can catch some of our guys in the US who are probably still asleep. But I do hope some of you are going to jump in and join us, and because I've got some questions for you about your brand. And I want you to be completely clear about what you're doing here. So I hope it's sunny and lovely where you are. It's absolutely beautiful here. I'm hoping some people are going to join us in a minute. But let's get into this and get started. So I think the first thing that you've really got to understand when you're looking for your wow factor is that it doesn't come from a description of your products. It's not something that's tangible. It's about creating a feeling in your audience, and you're going to want that feeling to amaze and make your customers or your potential customers loyal to you going forwards. So how do you create a strong feeling? And it's not, again, just about your branding, although your branding is hugely important. It's also about your whole company ethos, because you need to decide who you are and what you're doing and why you're out there offering your products. So hi Anjali, nice to see you. So I've said, Anjali, I've said that your wow factor really comes from the feeling that you can create in a customer. It doesn't come from a description. And I'm sure that many of you who are starting skincare brands, particularly in countries where the trend isn't huge yet, are really excited about being organic and green and clean and all those words that are show your passion for your product. But unfortunately, they are just not enough these days to create a wow factor. They're important in your brand description, but on their own, they are not enough. So where are we going to start? So the key reason that most brands do not have a real wow factor is that they are too broad. The message that they're giving out is too broad. So the tighter your message is, the more impact it's going to have on your audience and their wish to share it and talk about it and be loyal to you. So let's take an example of that. If you had to sum up your brand and what you're trying to do in just one word, how would you do that? What would you put? And I'd really like an answer to that. So you've got one word to sum up your whole proposition. So let's just say that that word was safe. You want to show that your products are safe. Well, that has to appear in absolutely everything that you do. It has to go right into the heart of your business, how you deal with your customers, how you deal with your staff. It's all about safe and security. So that has to be the key word that comes up in all your marketing. It could be that I want you to think about the things that you most value, the searching questions around you and what your beliefs are. And those of you that have done my masterclass will know that right at the beginning, I get you to do a really, really big dive about your attitudes about money and the things that light you up. And this is because your brand is a reflection of you. So if you get clear on who you are, you're going to find it a lot easier to get clear on what your wow factor should be. So when we're talking about, I've used the example of safe. So just as an example of that, if you look at Volvo cars, I think the first thing that comes to mind with Volvo cars is that they're sturdy and safe. And there's nothing in their branding that really shows that, or their logo that shows that. It's just that all their messaging since they begun and over many years has focused very much on that element of being safe. So do you value freedom above safety, or do you value maybe luxury above efficiency? Is a sense of humor more important to you than a social conscience? And I know that it's incredibly hard to make those choices. And I also understand that you probably value all those things. But the point is that to create a wow factor, you have to focus on just one single message. Now, the other way that you can create Angela says luxury for sure. That's great, Angeli. Then you've got to look at your branding and really absolutely nail that for a luxury market. And I'm talking to you because I've seen your work, and I think that your branding doesn't say luxury. And look around at some of the most successful brands that are out there that do say luxury in your mind, and see what the difference is there. You could, now the other thing is around your name, because that's a really simple way to create impact right at the beginning of your journey, or choosing your name. And one thing to know is that your name doesn't have to make sense, and it doesn't have to be skincare related. It simply has to be something that people will totally remember. And one great example of that is Drunken Elephant. And one of my clients was telling me yesterday the reason behind the name Drunken Elephant, which I never knew. I just remember it totally because it's such a fun name. So the reason that they called their company Drunken Elephant is because they focus on marula oil, and marula oil makes elephants drunk. So it has a double meaning. It's fun, it's light, but it also has a much deeper meaning to it. And you've got to be really, really lucky to hit on a name that does that. But a memorable name is a great contribution. It's not the total of, but it is a great contribution towards your messaging and your wow factor. Now, it could be that you want to make a wow factor with your formulas. And I don't just mean it's how your formulas work, although that's hugely important, but also how they look. So if I said to you, because we want to be sure that whatever we do and whatever imagery and messaging we create absolutely touches the senses. So, for example, if I said to you that your cream was like a fluffy marshmallow, what are you going to imagine? Are you going to feel that softness and that airy feeling on your skin? And is that important to your brand? Is lightness and airiness important to your brand? Because that's a theme that you could follow through with all your products and with all your messaging. And that if your product really is light and airy and fluffy, that's something that would become a wow factor in your brand. It could be that you're using, most of your products are gels, and that you're using sort of bright spring colors in your gels. And this creates, what does it create? Angeli, what would you feel? What do you feel when I say sort of springtime gels? What does it make your body feel? And this is the difference. This is what I mean between you're not describing your product, you're describing the feeling that your product brings about in people. Okay, so another way, another message that you might have is that your product is scientific. Again, this is about safety and security. And the wording that you would use on that, or the person that is spearheading that brand, really needs to show that they have the credibility behind them. Right, waking up. So Angela is saying that waking up is pastel colors. So it's freshness, it's spring, waking up. So I mean that rebirth, that whole refreshing element could be your wow factor. And you turn it into your wow factor by absolutely focusing on it and producing it in absolutely everything that you do, all your Instagram, or your packaging, the actual texture of your product. So it's, it can be back to front. You can decide on the feeling that you want to create, and then make your products to fit that feeling, or you can make your products and then decide what feeling they can create. You can do it either way around, but you just need to be aware and always be honing down on that one thing that makes you special. So, hello, Charlotte. We've got Charlotte and 3 others. I'm looking at 2 boards at once, so welcome to you. Who are my 3 others? Let's have a look. Okay, so I've got Marliam, Patty, and Tracy. So thank you for coming. I hope you caught the beginning of this, otherwise you can watch it in the recording. So if you have credibility, or if you've studied really hard, or if you have a story behind your brand, if you came about with your products because of some life-changing event in your story, you can turn that into a wow factor. But it isn't something that you do just once. It's something that is instilled and communicated constantly at the expense of all other messages. It has to be totally focused on. Another way that you can engage is through humor. I mean, are you a fun person? And it helps to start with who you are and what your story is, because you're going to find that much easier to be true to. So if you look at a brand like the Dollar Shave Club, if you look at their website, it's a pretty straightforward commercial website. But if you go on their YouTube and look at their ads, they're just absolutely hysterical. And they're very blokish, and they really appeal to that element of a guy who's carefree. I mean, shaving, how important is it? How serious is it? They've just absolutely got it. And another brand that's done extremely well in terms of differentiating themselves, and one was admittedly through price point, but that was The Ordinary, because The Ordinary bucked a trend, which is something else that you can do. You can be controversial in your choice of wow factor, and being controversial simply means suggesting to people and persuading people to do things differently. So The Ordinary did this by cutting through all the hype and high price points of luxury skincare. But they also had a fair bit of money behind them, and they could afford to create products in the volumes that it's necessary to create them in to get the prices right down. It might be that your brand, your real sense of what your brand is about is sustainability. And to be sustainable and to demonstrate sustainability, you could do great stories about the ingredients that you're using, how you hunted down those ingredients, how those ingredients were produced, who created them. You could do some brilliant videos. I'm sure you can get hold of probably some stock material showing the oils, the plants being farmed and the oils being made, so that people have the experience of actually touching and feeling and gathering and pressing those oils. So I hope you're getting, are you getting what I mean in terms of a feeling as opposed to a description of what your product does? Say yes if you're getting it. Okay, you're a very quiet lot here today. So, so the other, I mean, the other thing is what your aim is to have your brand totally associated with one feeling. And that could be, I mean, if you think about it, Disney is another classic example, because when you think of Disney, you think of magical. So what are people going to say about your brand? What do you want them to determine your brand as? Hello, Hannah. Hello, Charlene. Oh, there's loads of people down here. I didn't scroll down. Hello, Kaylee. Who else have we got here? Sophie. Hello, Sophie. Sophie came to see me last week here in France. Veronica, Apple, Sarah, Sue. Hello, Sue. Great. Okay, I'm glad you've got that, but I would like to know, so I don't think some of you were on here in the beginning. I would like to know from you what the one word is that you would choose. You've got one word, that's it, to describe your brand and what your brand represents. So will you put it in the chat box for me? Who's got some ideas around that? You've got to think about that. It's really hard to do, but it is actually what creates your wow factor. And the biggest mistake people make is being too broad. Now, as those who've done it will know, in my masterclass, I've just launched my masterclass as an online only program. And perhaps Joe would put the website address in the chat box for me. But it's, I'd like you to have a look at it if you haven't done it, because my firm belief is that you have to drill down on all these elements before you can get to that wow factor. So you've got to know, hang on, I'm just typing this, I'm not thinking straight, hang on, thecost.com, masterclass. Okay, so do have a look at that. I'm going to give you a little offer at the end of this, so have a look at that. It's really, really important. So any of you who've worked with me will know how strongly I emphasize that. But it is incredibly important to drill down on who your ideal customer is, because your customer is king. You know, this is not about you. Your customer is God. You have to know who your customer is and create the range and all your messaging and your packaging design and everything in a way that you think will appeal to them. Now, as a small business, so I focused on the potential of creating differentiations through your message, your single message. Who have we got here? Veronica is saying we've got empowering, we've got sustainable. Sue's got kind. Absolutely love it. So that's it. So I mean, with a let's take Sue, whose brand I know very well, but with a word like kind, there is so much that you can do in your marketing to demonstrate that you are a kind brand, that you care for people. And if your brand is about caring, then there is another trick around this. If you are a small brand, and one great advantage of being a small brand is you haven't got huge scales and huge orders, huge numbers of orders to deal with. If you're a small brand, an excellent idea would be for you to relate very, very personally to your initial customers. So when I say that, I mean do things like follow up on an order to check whether they enjoyed it. If you want to say that a product is risk-free or for people to feel secure, if that's one of your messages, offer a money-back guarantee if the product doesn't work. So you can be really, really personal. In your initial launch, you can actually send out handwritten cards. But I know I had one experience. There was a supermarket which totally convinced me of the importance of this. But there is a supermarket in the UK in Hampstead, which I go to occasionally when I'm in London. And they're more expensive than anywhere else. It's Hampstead, which is an upmarket area, and it's sort of deli style. And I went in there one day and they had changed all the checkouts to automatic tills. And this really annoyed me because the reason that I'd been going to this store was because of the service I received. Yes, they've got a great range of products, but it was also very strongly to do with the service. So I went on their website and I wrote a complaint, and I just addressed it to their customer services. And within 15 minutes, I said, look, I don't mind paying over the odds, but I want the service. And I'm just outraged that you're still charging the same, but I've now got to go through this horrible automatic till system. Within 15 minutes, I had an email back from the managing director of Budgeons. This was Budgeons. Telling me how sorry he was and explaining how the rates had gone up dramatically in the area and giving me really insightful and transparent reasons why they've had to make this switch. And he didn't offer to give me anything, but he ended this with, I do hope we're not going to lose you as a customer. And immediately I had a connection with him, and I won't shop anywhere else now. And it's not because they've taken the tills out. It's simply because somebody really high up in the organization had taken the trouble to write back to me. Because in fact, I didn't answer that email. And he wrote to me again a couple of hours later asking me if I'd received it. So that is a wow factor, without doubt. But as a small producer and in your early days, you can afford to really go that extra mile with your customer service. And when people receive your products, if you're selling online, and they open the box and they see a handwritten note from you, I mean, you don't have to write all these notes yourself. You could get a VA. Joe would do them for me. You could get a VA to do them for you. But that experience of personal contact, I once received a box with a photo of the whole team on it, thanking me for buying the product, is a really good way to get people to say, wow. So it can be something quite small. It can be a gift that you put in with the products. There is some really good organizations where you can subscribe to, and you can plant a tree. I once received a business card and it said on it, thank you for accepting my business card. If you call me, we will plant a tree in your name. Which was brilliant. So it was about giving back. It was absolutely about giving back. So if you are a brand that is kind, or if you are a brand that has concerns about production or fair trade, you can use that focus to absolutely nail your wow factor. And if you're a brand that's concerned about skin condition and skin care, you follow through and say, did this work for you? And this is also obviously a great way to get feedback. And for those of you who are selling substantial amounts, and I hope there's a lot of you out there who already are, this is still something that you ought to budget into your marketing with, to get people to connect in your name directly to the customer. So has anybody got any questions on this? Is this, let's have a look. Let's go through the questions. What have we got here? Lots of links to my masterclass here. So Kaylee likes luxury, but she'd like to be eco-luxury. So how are you going to do that? Because perhaps the way to deal with that is to focus on a different meaning for luxury. So I wonder what the dictionary definition is of luxury. Could someone do a quick search? Hi, no, I can never pronounce your name. Niam, I'm going to call you. Have a look at the dictionary definition while we're online. Somebody look up the dictionary definition of luxury. And I wonder if we can get something out of there and create a new definition for the word luxury that includes eco and sustainability, but doesn't sacrifice, let me think. So eco and sustainability suggests to me minimalism around your packaging and obviously recycling. And that suggests, yes, a certain sort of simplicity in the display. But I'm wondering if there is some way of marrying those two up. So you're creating something that really demonstrates eco and illustrates what eco luxury is. Oh, okay, so Kelly's got to watch the replay. So it can be, it's the state of great comfort and extravagant living. I love that. So a state of great comfort, when that dictionary definition was written, suggests you would automatically, I think, in the old paradigm, assume lots of money, and extravagance assumes lots of money. But I wonder if you took that definition and the state of great comfort becomes comfort to your skin, comfort to your senses, comfort of great well-being. And the extravagance could be the beautiful oils that you're using and the purity of the oils. So what I'm doing here is I'm redefining luxury. And there might be other ways of doing it. That's a really good one, someone adopt that. I'm getting on form as more of you are joining. But think about other words that you want to use and what their traditional definitions are. And then see if you could in some way redefine or come up with a new interpretation of what that word means that fits along with what you're trying to do. Does everybody understand me? Because I tend to talk off the top of my head. Now, Hannah is saying that her brand is trustworthy, and most certainly Tisserand is absolutely trustworthy because Robert's main focus is safety. And I think that, you know, we've discussed in previous calls the real importance of differentiating Robert's work from other aromatherapy leaders, and trustworthy is absolutely the perfect word for that. So does anybody else have a word here that surrounds their brand? Again, I'm jumping between screens here. Yes, so Sue is saying she likes the definition of pleasure out of the ordinary allowed to oneself. I'm not clear what that means. Define the definition of pleasure. I mean, pleasure can be kindness. It can be the action of the value of the action of giving and the pleasure that that gives you. So it's really interesting to take what could be seen as selfish or negative in some way. Sarah's saying that's great. I love that. Sarah is saying that when she thinks about her brand, she thinks about a friend, and that's absolutely brilliant. So that's about generosity of spirit. Friendship is about generosity of spirit. It's also about gifting. It's also about sharing. So there are 3 potential ways that you could put through that message. And you could, I mean, what is a friend? Are we talking about a close personal friend? Are we talking about our broad attachment to lots of people? Something, you know, there's something in there somewhere in the back of my head that could be used to talk about social media friends if you've got an online brand. So there could be something about these people, because I don't know about you, I have far more social media friends than I do real friends, and people are very quick to tell me that they are maybe they're not real friends because they're just on social media. But maybe that is a message that you could get across, that friends don't have to be sitting next to you or involved in your everyday life to be considered friends. And if you could find a way to do that, that could be really powerful for an internet company. So it would be about affirming the value of your online friends and what they can give you and what they can share with you. Okay, so Marielle Mel of Savonnerie Badien is saying to me authenticity, and absolutely. Unfortunately for us, authenticity sells really strongly. You'll know, because of my messy Facebook lives and my lack of technical skills, that I can still get away with this because this is who I am. I'm always in a muddle. But authenticity and honor and transparency are all, once we've got the word. So the point of the exercise is to have one word and understand that you've totally got to focus on that word above all else, and then work out how you can build the story, color that in. Think of it as as a picture that you've got to color in. Tracy is saying feel good. Now, what does feel good mean? Is that the feel good factor? Is that the feel good? Or is it generally wellness? Because general wellness isn't enough now. You need more than that. So feel cool, what does good mean there? You've got to hammer that one down a bit. Niam's offering, I don't understand the question there. Stella, hello Stella. Stella's joined. So, okay, so anybody else got a name for their brand or a description of their brand? Mariamel, how do you think you most show your authenticity? So let's build this up in stages. We've got our word. How are you going to best demonstrate it? What tools are you going to use to demonstrate it? Yeah, I get that, Sue. Thank you. I'm moving on while I hope Marianne will answer that question. Let me go through these points again. Priscilla, hello, Priscilla. Priscilla, I'm asking people to give me one name, one word that describes their brand here. So if you can do that, that would be great. Has anybody else got a word with me? Empowering. Let's look at empowering, Veronique. So how are we best going to show empowering? Why would a skincare brand be empowering? I don't know if that's enough. I know it's a great word and it's a very buzzy word. But I would like to know a little bit more about what you're thinking around how your brand is empowering. Okay. Okay, so Marianne Mel is saying that she shows authenticity by spending time with her client. Absolutely. So this is about the fact that you care about your client, the fact that you want your client to have the very best experience with you, which goes back to those ideas that I put forward about how you deliver your product and how you follow up even. Give a little gift, encourage your customers to, once you have your customer in that way, they want to be loyal to you, because there are very, very few, the world is full of big anonymous brands, and a lot of them are trying really hard not to be anonymous now. But basically, if you find a small brand that you love, it's a very, very personal thing. I have a fashion brand in Portugal that I love to bits, and I've been to Portugal to buy off them. Nobody's ever heard of them, but they're mine. They're my brand. I love them. And it's the same with skincare. So once you have that customer and they love your brand, they are going to want to share with their friends the fact that you exist. They've discovered you. They're going to feel they've got a lot of social currency from sharing the fact that this is the best kept secret. Okay. So, and that's a good, and putting the suggestion that they share it into their minds is another way of creating the wow factor. Because first of all, we want the early adopters, we want the people that are prepared to try you, and then we want to ensure that they share you. And by then we'll hopefully have the ball rolling and gathering moss and gathering more and more customers for you, so that reaches a tipping point. But the most effective brands, the Apples, the Kellogg's, the brands that you can immediately visualize, Nike, you can immediately visualize their logo and get a feeling. You get a sense of feeling when you see the logo. I mean, what do you think about if you see the Kellogg's, the red Kellogg's logo? Anyone? Someone wants to put that in. Okay, Sarah, I think, sorry, Sarah has said on the friendship front, Sarah has said showing friendship by using the best organic natural ingredients and obsessing about my clients' needs being met. I'm not sure that I think that's great, but I think you've missed a trick there with friendship. Because friendship has got a much stronger edge than that. That is about care and concern for your customer. It's more about caring, whereas friendship is about sharing, and friendship is about supporting. So I don't think anything that you've said is wrong. I just think that there is more opportunity in that than you can think about. So Hannah is saying that Kellogg's, she thinks immediately about breakfast. Yep, absolutely, because they make cereal, and you'll open, they'd make chocolate and things as well, but you haven't quite connected that. But your association, when you think about breakfast, you think about Kellogg's. So what we want is for people to think about their skin regime and think about your brand. And the name comes up in your head, the logo comes up in your head, which is kind of the importance of a logo. Sarah, I want to go back to the friendship thing, because I think there was a real opportunity there. And I would love to be coaching you on that. I'd love to be coaching anyone on that one. I think there's so much you could do with it. So Veronique is saying empowerment, that was empowerment. That's products that help you take care of yourself and boost your confidence. And Tosin is also on my other group, is also just describing her brand as confidence. I think that's great. And I think maybe the word empowerment feeds into people's aspirations as well. And it might be a word that you would use if you were aiming at corporate women. Or in Tosin's case, it's about, it's very much about aspiration, I think. So there's lots of ways you can use that. You can use empowerment, but I want you to think of one, because if you've got, see, again, the reason I push this program is because it starts off with you, one, knowing your strengths, understanding exactly who you are, feeling confident in yourself that you can run a business. And the next thing that you're going to do, that I get you to do, is to identify your ideal client, and also to look really, really closely at how you're going to message them and how you're going to talk to them and where you're going to find them. And these foundational pieces are so important, because if you get clear on those, we then go on to get clear on your branding. But you can't do that until you've done the first two. Because I know a lot of my people that have done the masterclass look at the mindset pieces and think, what on earth am I doing here? But they are really, really important because they get to the heart of you and you are the heart of your brand. Michelle, okay, so Michelle, that's interesting. So Michelle, you've come up with the word harmony, and that's kind of about, it could mean lots of things. It could mean harmony, to me, could mean a melting of the difference between ethnic groups. It could be being in tune with your body, which is slightly less wowy, because again, lots of people are doing that. It could be about meditation. It could be about highs and lows, and it could be about harmonizing your skin with, I'm talking out loud here, so I'm going to come up with some nonsense. You've got to forgive that. I'll come up with a gem in a minute for you. But it could be about being in harmony with the climate. The climate changes. It could mean there's all sorts of ways that you could use that word, but you need to, having got the word, I want you to dig down and think about how you can use it in the not in the non-obvious way. So again, look to redefine the word and make that your wow factor. Okay. Oh, I've got Sylvie on here. Hello, Sylvie, darling, and Linda. It's great to have you on here. So you're right at the end here, but we're unless anybody, Erin, can we have, Erin's got a very tight market in that she's producing products mainly for the Muslim community. But Erin, do you have one word that you can use to sum up your brand? And it has to be a word that describes how people feel. Not, this is the mistake people make. They describe what their brand is. It's organic, it's anti-aging, it's natural. It's not about what your brand is. It's about how your brand makes your potential customer feel. That's the difference. That is the wow factor. And then really engaging your customer and making sure that they feel that way. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the other thing that you can do is be very controversial and simply knock all the norms out of the ballpark with your product. Maybe the other thing that you can do, I mean, it can be to do with an applicator. You know, the perfume guys have been doing this for years. They spend far more money on their perfume bottles than they do on the actual perfume, and people buy them because they're collectible. Collectability is another really interesting area for promotion. So we've got Carolyn Rose Folk on here, and I've not met you before. So one way for her brand would be support. It would be support. Well, there's lots of ways that you can use support. You can use support in terms of, and I don't encourage this for starters, but in terms of supporting a particular cause, supporting a particular need, supporting the need of women going back to work, maybe, of women whose families are empty nesters. I don't know what your brand is about, but think about the circumstances where people would gain from support and see if you can pull those into your marketing. Support also means underpinning. In a way, it can support, I don't know, I was thinking of something foundational before you put makeup on or whatever, but I don't think that's strong enough. If anybody's got any ideas, Jennifer's got love to play, love to educate. Well, that's kind of joy. Do you love to play or do you love to educate? They're two different, actually they're polar apart. Education is something else that I didn't include in those words. Your message could be that you are in fact, education goes really well with the story of the ingredients and showing how the ingredients are grown. I mean, you can do this in a negative way as well. You can show how things are bad for you, or again, that's controversial. But you could show, you know, how trees are being cut down to get palm oil or whatever. But it's always better to be to be positive rather than negative. And Hannah, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? Hannah's saying you can play and educate. Actually, Hannah, you have achieved that really, really well. And I think you can. But I think if you just have boxes of a skincare product, because you actually have this, Hannah is from the Tisserand Institute, which is an educational platform for people, and it's all about aromatherapy. But your business puts you in touch and talking to people constantly. And you can have fun while you're educating people. But I kind of think you're more limited if you've got boxes of product on a shelf as to what message you put on that box, which is why I tend to feel that it needs to be, can be hugely playful and fun, or it needs to be really educational. I think those are kind of two different graphic images. Okay, so Leah's her brand is about children's products. Okay, all right, so that's slightly different. So you could actually incorporate that. I mean, you could incorporate cutouts in your packaging for children to play with, and they might be educational. They might tell a story that's educational. So you can think around that. How can children play with the packaging on your products? I mean, this is done, if you think of some of those baby children's foam baths like Matey, where the actual bottle is a toy, it's a sailor or something. Okay, so Michelle is saying holistic. Yeah, holistic is overused. And this is something else. I mean, a while back, organic might have been enough to make, for example, I've said, you know, organic and natural aren't strong enough anymore, but they might have a while back been enough to actually make people feel that they were doing good and looking after themselves. But the trouble is, if you hear a term too often, it becomes white noise. And I think holistic is becoming white noise. I think your brand should be holistic, but I don't think that word is strong enough to describe what you, it's not a wow factor word anymore. There you go. Jennifer Lee, it's Jennifer, yes? Teaching children to love the environment. Absolutely. Well, perhaps you could have different leaves on your packaging that they could cut out, or stickers, or something that creates a story that they could actually build on. Okay, so Hannah is saying that they have education as the product and they play with the as the product, and they play with the product. Okay, all right. Hi, Carly. A little bit late, but you can listen to the replay. So okay, so anybody else want to tell me what their one word is to describe what they're doing? I want you to nail your brand in terms of what you want people to feel. Not what you are, not what your product is, but what you want people to feel in one word when they receive your product, because that is your wow factor. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, I think hopefully if you missed, I know a lot of you came in halfway through or towards the end, but I do hope you watch the replay, because there is a lot of ideas that have come up from this. And again, I'm going to say it for the third time because it's really, really important. All right, Carly is saying fun. Absolutely. Carly has a baby range with some wonderful animated cartoon characters on it. It's fun. It is. You're doing it. Yeah, I want you to, yeah, if you go through this, that would be great. Now, I said that I'd have as I hope you've probably seen this week, I've relaunched my masterclass as an online program only, which you can click and buy and download all the modules and work on in your own time. It's not, it doesn't have me in it, doesn't have live webinars. It's got recordings in it, but it is considerably cheaper than the live masterclass was. So go over and have a look at it, please. And the masterclass is, as I say, it's a self-learning program, but if you want direct contact with me, you can then join the membership, the Fast Track to Success membership, which is where you can connect with me on a regular basis and get feedback and get all your questions answered and get a bit of coaching from me as well, plus lots of expert interviews. And then the membership is about getting you out there and getting you selling once you've got your brand. Okay, so if you want to look at the membership, it's melindacoss.com/membership. We kept it simple. So thank you all very much for watching this. And oh, 1 minute, we've missed Apple Casey. Apple's got treat. I love that. So that can be about spoiling yourself. And that can be about cream cakes and all those things that that show you. I'm just thinking about imagery for you for Instagram. So all those things that are naughty but wonderful, naughty but nice. And if you kept that fun, I think that's great. And you could do all sorts of marketing with that around. When do you deserve a treat? Do you deserve a treat? What have you done this week that makes you deserve a treat? Do this, do that, do the other on your Instagram. So you could have huge fun with that. I love that. Okay. I just want to double check I haven't missed anyone. No, I think that is it. So I am going to leave you to get on with your afternoon and watch the webinar and go over and check out the program. And it's lovely to have seen you all. I've got you on both screens. Lovely to have seen you all. Have fun with this. Bye.